Hello, welcome back, Steve's Corner. The impeachment of President Joe Biden. I don't think it ought to happen, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes, even though you have the right to do something, and you have the ability, it's not the best option you have. And that's the way I think about this. You know, in 240 years or so, the American people have, or the Congress has impeached what? One, two, three presidents, and had one quit because of it, because of the fear of impeachment. You had Jackson, Clinton, and Trump twice. So you've had 4 impeachments. And for the first couple 200 years, we only had one. And and since the 70s, we've had one. Well, we've had 3 impeachments, and one president quit because of it was going to happen. None of the ones that have been impeached were convicted. They were impeached in one house and not the other. But in 200 years, you only impeach one. And in a quarter of that, you've had 3 impeachments. I think it's beginning to be used for purposes it was never intended for. I think it's a tit-for-tat political power move. You impeach our man, we're going to impeach yours. That's what I think. And it's not that they don't have good reason that I can tell. I think they have just as much reason and more reason than for whatever they impeached President Trump on. I think both of his impeachments were drummed up lies. At least on this one, we have definitive proof from the whistleblowers and from some of the actors involved in it. So I believe this one here has more grounds for impeachment than him or Clinton's. I believe we have a higher grounds to impeach Clinton, Uncle Joe, than we ever did for Clinton also. I believe out there was just politically motivated, straight up. And I know Trump's was. There's no doubt about it. All the lies they told to the American people and kept up a charade for how many years. And then they impeached him. There's no way they're going to convince me that wasn't politically motivated. It just isn't. The same as all these charges being filed against him now. I believe those are totally made up political charges. I just do. It's as simple as that. But sometimes it's just not the best option. I think they need to impeach him in the public opinion arena. That's what I think. Because if you impeach him and they don't have both houses, he'll never get convicted. And nobody's worried about him taking office again, because he's never going to run once he leaves the presidency. But if you was to impeach him, it would be a stain on his record. He'd still be in control since you can't get a conviction. And it is actually no punishment at all to him. And for what is out there in the public arena, as far as what had went on, it's probably the worst that a president has ever done that I know of. In my mind, anyways. How's that? And he definitely deserves a fair punishment on that. And I don't think that a congressional impeachment would be the ideal thing. He had too many people supporting him, the news media, all covering it up. All the Democrats running. They all had direct knowledge, or they knew that they didn't have direct knowledge, but I believe that they knew what was going on. I believe it's a big thing. I believe it's a big problem up there in D.C. Stuff like this happens all the time, and only a few get caught. And he just happens to be getting caught by it. That's what I think. Them people up there are worried about power, maintaining power. They're not worried about us little fellas. They just aren't. If they were, they wouldn't be running the country down the way they are, allowing the illegal immigration. There's one city now in the U.S. that's allowing non-citizens to be police officers. Allowing crime to run rampant. Pushing the green agenda when it's doing more harm to us little people than anything you can think of, hardly. I mean, it would just devastate the average working fella out there. The cost of it, the unpredictability of it, unreliability of it. It's not as good a policy or a appliance or vehicle or whatever as what we have now, and it costs more. And there's just no two ways around it. When you're busting your butt for a living, you need the least expensive and the most durable product you can get, and the stuff they got out there just ain't there now. It just isn't, and that's what they want you to have. But by doing the impeachment in Congress, you're going to be punishing the main actor, but you're not going to be punishing everybody behind him, and they need to be held accountable also for the lies they've told the people, for the backing of him that they're doing. It's like an accessory to a crime is what it is, and they need to be held accountable. And you impeach him, all you're doing to us is giving us Kamala Harris as a daggone, if they convict him, giving Kamala Harris the presidency. And that'd do more damage than leaving him up there for another month or two. Or a year or two. I'm sorry. I think this way, if they impeach him in the arena of public opinion, it would bring to light all the dirty deeds that's been going on up there the past decade, I guess. And it don't come off as a tit-for-tat power play political move. That's why I think that's the way they ought to go with it. Other people will be called into question. Other people will start being disbelieved that should be. I think that would do more harm, or not more harm, but would be a fairer punishment than impeachment. Sometimes it's just not best to take an option you have, even though you're able to do it. That's my thoughts on it. I think that every chance they get from now till next November, they have to pound home what he's being accused of with the evidence to back it up, and just keep driving that into public opinion. And I think that's the way they ought to handle this. Because if you impeach somebody and he don't get convicted, it's useless. It really is. It doesn't prevent them from doing nothing. It doesn't really stain them. And he's not going to do anything once he leaves office. He's not going to be on a board of directors nowhere. He's not going to run for office anywhere again. He's just going to sit back and relax on his laurels. That's what he's going to do. That's why I think it is. They shouldn't impeach him in Congress. It's not being used for what it was intended for, to protect the American people from a despot up there. Somebody that's doing harm to the country. And he's done a lot of harm. His administration has done a lot of harm for this country. It's gotten it to the point that I really worry about it being able to come back to the way I think it should be. A little bit better for the common man. And I don't see, with him up there pushing stuff, his administration, I don't see there's no way for Congress to come together and meet in the middle on anything. And that's hard to believe. Whether it's good for the American people or not, I just don't see them being able to come together. And he's played a big role in that, or his administration has. But I don't know. I was just thinking. I think that would be a better way to handle it. It'd be more devastating to him, I believe. Him and the people that were supporting him and behind him and backing him, helping him cover up stuff. I think that would be the better punishment, because you don't get the main actor, you get everybody that was putting him up there to do it and behind him. That's the way I'd handle it. But I ain't in Congress, so I don't have no idea. Well, y'all take care. Enjoy your weekend the best you can, and we'll talk to y'all later.